Hello, welcome back to my new video. My name is Marco from Water Dragon Arts. Today I want to tell you a little bit more about Zhan Zhuang Gong. I'm not going to tell you what Zhan Zhuang Gong is and what it's used for, because I already have quite a few videos that are talking about that subject. I also have a couple of videos which are basically forming an entire free Zhan Zhuang course. Okay, there is no sign up required. All you need to do is clicking the link below. It should be up there somewhere, and you will be forwarded to that video. It's 2 parts, so make sure you start with the first part, learning about the Qigong stance and all the little details, and in the second part we will actually do the Zhan Zhuang posture, and at the same time add a little dynamic Dao Yin exercise. Now, when I say Zhan Zhuang, obviously I'm using a very general term because it just means standing pole, right? Zhan Zhuang. Standing pole exercises can look very different, but basically the underlying principles of Zhan Zhuang Gong are the same. In this video, I want to focus on this Zhan Zhuang exercise, which is basically called hugging the tree. It's most commonly known as Zhan Zhuang, that's why I want to focus on this today. And the principles are, for the most part, all the same, so you can apply it in all the other Zhan Zhuang postures as well. I want to talk about 10 different things today. So I want to give you 10 tips and errors that I see often occur, and tips that I think people that practice Zhan Zhuang can really need to improve their practice. So the number one thing that's really helpful and really useful, the one thing that you should do before you commence your Zhan Zhuang practice is stretching. There are some people that only practice the standing pole exercises because they're so powerful, right? But if this is about the extent of your Qigong practice, then it's even more important. Stretching, of course, is important for any kind of Qigong or Taijiquan practice. Let's say, as an example, you're working in front of the computer, you're working in some kind of office, or even you're doing manual labor, whatever it might be. You develop some tension in the body due to the kind of work, due to the nature of the job, basically. Most of the time when people work in front of the computer, the shoulders are constantly slightly raised, and step by step you will have this habitual tension. And well, this habitual tension will develop into a chronic tension at some point. Some of you might be already really aware of that and work on releasing this tension. Others might not be. So wherever you are, it doesn't really hurt at all to do some stretching. In fact, it will be really good for your practice, because you can focus on opening the tissues, releasing the tissues, and ultimately this will help you to sync your qi better and connect the arms to the rest of the body. We're going to talk about that in just a second, why this is important. So, in my opinion, one of the first errors or mistakes that people do is they neglecting the stretching. Just take 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes time in front of your Zhan Zhuang practice and do some good stretching. Just extend the arms as far as you can, roll the shoulders. Lots of different exercises help you to release the upper back in this particular instance. Of course, you can work on opening the quad and all these other stretching exercises too. So I was talking about connecting the arms to the rest of the body. So with that, we're coming to step number 2, point number 2, and that is the wuji stance. After you've been practicing the stretching, I recommend standing for about 5 minutes in your wuji stance. Obviously, you can stand in it for longer too. You're creating the right environment for the change, just as you do in other Zhan Zhuang postures. It's just that it's a little bit of an easier posture. But a lot of the time people neglect this, okay? So again, if you don't know what the wuji stance even is, there should be a video up there linked so you can just check that out and learn about that. But what does it have to do with connecting the arms to the rest of the body? Well, the wuji stance, or at least this particular position that I'm talking about right now, in which the arms are just hanging down alongside the body, is really good to feel in the body and know if you're releasing the shoulders well enough. Okay, because you're not actually engaging any muscles when you're just hanging the arms down loosely like that. It's a lot easier to absorb the mind and feel deeply into the back and into the shoulders. When you're practicing the wuji stance, at some point when you have reached a good amount of relaxation in the shoulders, you will feel that there is a sensation traveling all the way down to the elbows and at some point even all the way down to the hands. If you're standing in wuji and focusing on relaxing the shoulder blades down as good as you can, basically you just let them become really heavy, you will eventually feel that it's a bit of pressure in the elbow and it's actually going to widen your arms a little bit. They're not just hanging like slack against the body. You're actually automatically connecting them to the rest of the body and they move a little bit, tiny little bit away from the body. It's a really interesting sensation. You can even try this at home after you've done lots of sinking the chi and standing. Maybe let's say you've done 20 minutes of wuji. You can just help a little bit and focus on the shoulder blades and just actually pull them down a slight bit. And you will feel that you can actually, let's say, artificially get that effect and feel how the shoulder blades are slightly pressing into the elbow. So the wuji stance is not just good for that, so that you have a better or more time to relax the shoulders and connect the arms to the rest of the body. But obviously the wuji stance itself comes with lots of other great aspects, important aspects for practice. But again, you can watch that video about the wuji stance. Okay, so first do some stretching, then do some wuji. Okay, just create that state of neutrality that wuji is for. Again, I'm not going to go into detail about what the wuji stance is, but it comes with lots of other great aspects. The third one is relaxing the shoulders in the wuji stance so that the arms connect to the body. Okay. The fourth one is that you will basically be able to feel how there's a little bit of tension, but a good kind of tension developing in the upper back. So it sounds kind of contradicting, okay, when I say release and open the tissues, but then you feel a little bit of tension. The tension that I'm talking about in this case is not like a chronic tension or it doesn't come due to engaged muscles. If you're standing in wuji in this position, you're basically having the weight of your arms attaching to the back. And if you're relaxing the large muscles down sufficiently, of course, while your skeleton structure remains slightly elevated, suspended from above, then you feel how the weight of the arms actually moves down the back. Okay? In the beginning, it will be very evident in the center of the shoulders, basically between the two shoulder blades. So you will feel how there's like a little bit of tension, like a warm feeling that's kind of traveling down first towards the center of the back and then downward. As you practice more and more releasing and relaxing, sinking the chi, making sure that you relax the large muscles down in this position, you will feel that this sensation travels down a little bit further all the way towards the Mingmen. The Mingmen is the point down here, okay, in the back. It actually feels as if the back becomes kind of full. It kind of fills out basically. So the sensation travels from the upper back down towards the Mingmen. And this is a good sign. That's what you want to do. This is really important. Now you can only reach that effect if you're releasing the pelvis down perfectly. Okay, releasing the pelvis down is one of the most important things as you're standing in Zhan Zhuang, together with keeping the crown of the head slightly suspended. Now, point number 4, okay, the connection between the arms and the shoulders going down to the center of the shoulder blades and then down to the Mingmen. We're coming to point number 5, and I've already talked a bit about it because it's related to release and relaxing the pelvis down. Okay, there is something that happens if you relax the large muscles of the body down in a sufficient way. At the same time, keep releasing the pelvis down and maintaining that slightly suspended structure of the skeleton. You're basically having two opposing forces, I like to say. The crown of the head is basically going upward and the pelvis downward. Okay, so you're having the crown of the head being suspended and the pelvis dropping down. Now the tension that you feel is due to the tension that you feel in the back is due to relaxing the large muscles down and having the pelvis pull on the rest of the body. Okay, so imagine your head and your shoulders up to the collarbone area stay in one position, but you're relaxing the pelvis down so effectively that you're creating a stretch in the rest of the body, and this will be very evident in the waist. It's always a little bit more tension or stretch because it's actually a stretch that's resulting due to the relaxation of the muscles. Okay, so it'll be a bit more evident in the back, but eventually you also feel it along the side and even going further towards the front of the body. So I think it's really good to visualize that. If the head, the crown of the head and the top of the shoulders kind of stay in one spot and all the rest of the body, especially the pelvis, are relaxing down, that there has to happen a stretch somewhere. Okay, so point 5 is the slight stretch that you feel in the waist. Now, don't worry if you're not feeling this right away, okay? So if you don't feel any of these sensations that I'm talking about right now, don't stress. It's totally fine, but it will help you to focus on different things. For example, focus more on releasing the pelvis down. Okay, maybe you can just take a whole week and every time you practice, this is the only thing that you focus on. The more you will be able to relax the pelvis down, the more effective you will be able to stand in Zhan Zhuang. Don't forget, it's not just about bringing the whole body down, okay? It's also about where your weight is distributed. There are all these other little adjustments that are just as important as that releasing of the pelvis. If you want to know more about these, don't forget there is the free Zhan Zhuang course that I offer, okay? Also, this is only the tip of the iceberg, basically. There's so much more to say. And even in the free course, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that there is to say. If you're interested in learning a lot more and diving deeper into the practice of Zhan Zhuang Gong, Yijin Jing Qigong in general, or also Taijiquan, there's a whole online academy that I want to invite you to join. Take a look at it. The link is down in the description. Okay, now we have already talked about the stretch in the waist. The next thing is a sign that you can use to determine your progress. It's a kind of twinging sensation that you have in the back. For me personally, it started first in between the shoulder blades and the upper back. But some of my students have also said that it comes in different places in the body. And in fact, it can literally come everywhere because this is a feeling of the tissues releasing. And that's a very good thing. If you have this feeling, then it means that you are sufficiently relaxing the large muscles down and your tissues begin to unbind. So let's say you have lots of chronic tension and you haven't done any stretching at all, focusing on the back right now. The connective tissue, your fascia and the muscles, they're basically just all one big chunk of tissues, right? Now, as you're relaxing the larger muscles down, you will slowly begin to open up these tissues. They will unbind, and that's what giving you this twinging feeling. It's like a slight pull. Sometimes you're standing in your Zhan Zhuang position and it's like all over the place. You feel how your tissues are restructuring themselves. Okay, that's a really good sign. But again, don't stress if you haven't reached that sensation yet. I'm sure as you continue practicing, as you continue sinking the chi and releasing the muscles, you will get there pretty soon. There's three more things, in fact, to say. And the next point, point number 7, is when you're sinking your qi or standing in Zhan Zhuang, you're actually sitting into the Kwa at the same time, right? If you don't know what the Kwa is, again, there's a video up there that you can take a look at. As you're sitting down in the Kwa, and this happens almost naturally because you're releasing the pelvis down and you have to kind of sit into the Kwa slightly to keep the whole hips relaxed. You will feel that you're actually sinking lower and lower and lower. Okay, and one error that I see people do quite often is that they continue focusing on releasing the pelvis, releasing, but slowly but surely they're sinking lower with their entire body. So what that means is basically they're bending more and more from the knees. Of course, it's a good thing to release and focus on the pelvis. Okay, it's good to bring the pelvis lower. But at the same time, you don't want to bring the knees past your toes. And that's important because eventually you will develop too much pressure in the knees. You always want to have the knees before the toes. So we have to do one thing in order to maintain that position. When we focus on releasing the pelvis down and we go down, we have to rise up again. Okay? I know Zhan Zhuang is supposed to be a very static posture generally, but there's lots of movement, especially in the beginning as we focus on different regions in the body. Now, I don't want you to simply stand up and then again focus on releasing. Stand up again, focus on relaxing the pelvis down as much as possible. But instead, when you're doing this, when you notice that you're sinking more and eventually you're so low that your knees are past your toes, then I want you to place your attention on the crown of the head. Okay? If you suspend the crown then and keep all the other parts of the body relaxed below and just raise the crown, then you maintain a slight stretch in the spine. So it's basically as if the crown is leading the movement, and with that string that's attached here, you're just pulling that entire body back up again into a higher position. Okay, so you keep that stretch in the spine, you're maintaining space in each vertebra, and your pelvis is still hanging down. If you don't do this, you would simply lose all those principles, right? If you go here and just push yourself up from the ground, it's not really good because your spine will slightly collapse and you're not maintaining the principles. But if you're focusing on the crown of the head and just using the crown of the head to bring the rest of the body back up, then it's okay. Now, you see that in the beginning when you practice Zhan Zhuang, there's actually a little bit of a sinking and a coming back up. Okay, because if you concentrate on the pelvis, naturally your body will slowly sink a little bit lower. It's okay, as you're standing in Zhan Zhuang as well, okay? It's okay to constantly moving a little bit up and down. Later when you have become a lot more attuned to the practice and know how it feels if everything is relaxing down and you're keeping that right posture, then you're not having so much movement anymore. You're pretty much standing still. But in the beginning, it's quite okay or quite common to have that sinking motion and that slight pulling back up from the crown. It's just, maybe in 30 seconds, step by step, you've realized, you've come too low. Again, then you focus on the crown, rise back up in the next 5-10 seconds. And then again, you're releasing the pelvis. So there's a little bit of an action of constantly releasing and then adjusting your body again that you're in the correct posture. Okay, so that's point number 7. If you're releasing and if you notice that your knees are past your toes, then lift up from the crown and don't simply go back up and sink again. Focus on the crown and basically lead that movement. Bring the rest of the body with it. Point number 8 is the position of the hands, especially the elbows. Okay, when we're standing like this in Zhan Zhuang, a lot of the time you see people are standing like this, or they get tired and the elbows are almost touching the body, Or sometimes you see people standing like this. So in the beginning, the best position for the elbows is basically facing down 45 degrees to the ground. You do not want to lift the shoulders up so that they're the elbows up so that they're pretty much level to the ground, and you don't want to have them down here. When you're having this position with the elbows facing down about 45 degrees, it's easiest for you to maintain the correct posture. Because when you're standing in Zhan Zhuang with the arms up like this, you want to relax the shoulders down as good as possible. But the shoulders are not just sitting in their joints, slack, collapsed. The joints are also open. It's easier to open the joints at the same time as they're relaxed down when your elbows are facing about 45 degrees down. What happens, and that's an error that I see often, is when people bring the elbows too high up, they're actually lifting the entire shoulder. And then again, it's nothing different than sitting in front of the computer. You want to be able to release and relax the shoulders down as good as possible, while maintaining the shoulders open, the joints open. Now, there is a way to stand more like this with the elbows higher up. There is also a way to stand with the elbows lower, but you have to know what it feels to keep the joint of the shoulders open. Okay, point number 8, make sure that the angle of the elbow is correct, that you're not lifting your shoulders up as you're standing. Now, there are 2 more things that I want to say. The 9th point is actually something that you can use for determining your progress again. Because in the very beginning, especially those of you who have lots of chronic tension in the body, will feel pain when they stand in Zhan Zhuang. Okay, it's probably in the shoulders and the arms are getting tired, and it's hardly possible to keep the arms up in that position. And it's painful. And that's normal. Why is that? Because there's so much tension, you're using so much muscle power to keep the arms up in that position that your muscles are getting really quickly tired. You know, imagine that all the muscles in the back are literally just pulling the arms down. They want them down here because this is what their, well, natural, not really natural, but the position that they have developed in. That's where they like it, right? That's where all the tension is. That's where you feel comfortable. Once you lift the arms up, all the muscles are trying to pull them back down. Of course, you're getting tired really quickly. That's why it's so important to do the stretching, to open those tissues up. You don't really need a lot of power to keep the arms up here, even for minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Okay? So the first thing that can happen is that it feels like pain. And it's a bit like a journey that you go through as you practice. This pain eventually is bearable, but it just becomes like an uncomfortable feeling. Okay? So maybe in the beginning it was pain, and now you've kind of conditioned your body to a certain extent. You've probably done a little bit of releasing the tissues, and it's only uncomfortable. So it's already a little bit better, right? Now, the next thing that will happen after you've gone through this phase of a little bit of uncomfortable feelings, it will kind of feel warm. And that's when a lot of the people stop. They feel like, oh yeah, this is great. I can stand in a particular Zhan Zhuang posture for 1 hour straight. It doesn't even bother me at all. That's not the point that you want to be in. You don't want to be satisfied with that. That just means that you have enough muscle power that they can the muscles will allow you to stand in that position without you getting tired. But that's not where all the change will happen. That's not where the transformation will happen. The transformation happens when you go one step further. And that's when it becomes hard again. So after pain, a little bit of uncomfortable feeling, as you continue practicing, you will feel quite comfortable almost actually. And it will just become warm. So the feeling in the shoulders will be warm and the rest of the body will be warm. But that's not it. You go further until it gets hard again. And it gets hard because you've gotten so good at relaxing the muscles down, releasing the pelvis down, that they're actually pulling on all the connective tissues in the body. Remember what I was talking about, the waist? In the beginning, you might not feel anything here. Later on, when you relax the muscles and the pelvis down so good, you're having the weight of your lower body basically pulling on the upper body. And this is actually hard. It can be quite difficult to maintain this position then. Okay? And if you have been able to stand for 1 hour, try to really release properly all the muscles down and the pelvis down, and you will see you won't be able to stand like this for an hour straight. Okay? So those are 9 points. There's one last thing that I want to talk about, and that's the closing down. A lot of the time people practice it and they don't have time, they want to finish it or get it over with. They don't take time to close down the practice properly. If you've been standing, you've most likely accumulated lots of qi in your body. You've created that environment, there's lots of things happening. Qi is moving, your body is relaxed, qi is distributing itself on its own, entering deeper layers of the body and so on. So this is a Qigong practice. You're actually working with energy here. It's not just like a workout and then you go to the next step. So you have to allow your body to close down properly. Allow the qi to just distribute again, and all the stagnant qi that has developed to distribute in the body and get released. And that's why when you have practiced for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, Zhan Zhuang or whatever, just take the time to close down properly, put the hands to your lower abdomen, focus on this here, breathe completely naturally, don't get involved with anything anymore, don't try to release, relax, focus on any specific thing, manipulate anything or whatever. Okay, and then massage the lower belly in both directions, knock on the dantian, massage the kidneys, briskly rub the hands together, right? Close them, put them on your face, across the head. Take some time to come back. You are going to shake the legs out a little bit. Okay, so make sure that you close down the practice properly. Ease out of the practice. Give yourself time. Don't go touch things right away, start cooking or go on with the next task of your day. Make sure stagnant qi is released. Clap the body, shake the body out. Sit down, look out of the window, observe nature for a little bit. Just make sure you take your time. Okay, otherwise you might feel more exhausted and drained of energy, and that's the opposite of what we try to achieve, right? We obviously want to feel more energized and improve our well-being. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful to you. If you want to learn more about Zhan Zhuang or Yijin Jing, Qigong or Taijiquan, feel free to click the links in the description. I do have an online academy, and I teach various things around the Yijin Jing Qigong method and Yang Taijiquan. And there are also a few online courses which might interest you. If we don't see you there, I hope that we see each other in the next video. Have a good day.